Assalamualaikum. Today I will. My name is Amir HANIS bin Azman. Uh, I will present the project for my group. So, for the first part is it contain of option OPT. This could print the line for the string 1, string 2, and so on until the string 6 to end, and the code will call read integer so that the user can input their choice whether 1, 2 or 3. Then the remove the number of EX to choice, and the choice move to the register EX. Then we compare the value in EX with 1, 2 or 3. If it's equal to 1, we move to the bin to decimal loop. If it is equal to 2, we move to the decimal to bin, and if equal to 3, we jump to E loop. Then for the first part, which is bin to decimal, choice 1. So we go to the bin to decimal, and you print the string. Just enter 8-bit binary digits. Then the user need to input the 8-bit binary. So let's say if I enter 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, then the decimal integer of this binary will convert to 93 decimal. So I will explain about the code. So here we initialize EX ESI with 0, and we move the number length to the ECX. The number length is from the number of characters read. Then on to the while part. We compare ECX with 0. If ECX equals 0, we will go to the display output. If not, then we will move ECX to the outlook, and we will go to the if part. So we compare the first number 1 of the first digit of this 8-bit binary. If it is equal to 0, then we will go to increase ESI. Increase ESI, we will increase ESI and move outlook to the ECX, and decrease the ECX. Then we will jump to the while part. So we'll jump to while part and compare again with 0. If it's equal, go to display output, and if it's not, we will go to the next iteration and move set to outlook. So for the else if part, it will compare the number digit with 1. If it is equal to 1, Then we will move the number length to ECX and sub minus the ECX with ESI, and then decrease the ECX. Then we initialize EAX with 1. Then proceed to the while to compare the ECX register with 0. If equal to 0, then we stop. If not equal to 0, then we will move the base which is equal to 2 to the EPX register, and then we'll multiply the EPX with EAX and decrease the ECX. Then it will jump to the while to. To the while to. Okay. Yes, sorry. And then we will jump to the while to again and continue the calculation, multiply calculation EX and EBX until the ECX is equal to 0. Then if it's equal to 0, then we'll go to the stop, add the DC number, add the EAX to DC number, and we will go to the jump increase SI. So increase SI will increase SI, move outlook to ECX, decrease ECX, and we'll jump to the while part. So if all the iteration is complete, then we will go to the display output. The display output will display all the calculation and all the calculation answer, which is 93 decimal. So I will move on to the second part, which is decimal to binary. If the user enter 2 as option, so the program will request user to input a decimal integer that is less than 256. So then let's say if I enter 57, then the program will convert 57, which is decimal, to binary. So I will explain about the code. This is code which is call write string of the string, and we call write decimal, which is the input from the user, 8-bit by decimal, and we move the EAX to the decimal number and initialize the D counter with 0, and we move to EBX. This is for the divided binary base 2. So, and we go on to the L1, which is we compare decimal number with a 0. If equal, we go to the display part. If not, then we move the first word of decimal number to X, and move the second word of this number to the X, and then the dx is act as a remainder and the x act as the number. Then we divide the x with dx and we move the x to edx and push the edx, push the remainder from edx. And next part, we move x to ex and we move the number in register ex to decimal number, and we increase the D counter. Then we jump to the L1. It means that we repeat the process. Compare the dash number is equal to 0. If equal, display, and if not equal, we'll proceed to the next part. Okay. Then we will continue until the last until it's complete division to get binary, and then we compare the decimal number equal to 0. So we will go to the display part. So the display part, we call write string to write the binary of your number is, and then we move the D counter to ECX, and we go on to the L2 part, which is we pop out remainder to EX. The remainder is content of 1 or 0. So we pop out the remainder and we call write decimal, and it will decrease the D counter, and we loop the L2. We loop the L2 until all the binary is called. Then that's all. I think that's all. No, we will jump to the option, which is we'll repeat the option part. Then the last part is if the user put 3 as their option, then we will call write string, that is by, and we will call crlf, and the user need to press any key to exit this program. So that's all from me. Thank you.